Hello, hello, hello everyone. And yeah, let's spend these first minutes of the live to see if everything is set up correctly. Whoever is in the chat, please let me know if you can hear me, if the volume is fine. I think there is a lot of latency, but anyway, yeah, I just wait for your feedback. Oh, okay, all good. Yeah, let's wait just a bit for maybe other people to join in this first 5 minutes. Meanwhile, I want to put in the chat, even if maybe in the chat is not a good idea because people who will join later won't see them. But anyway, there are two Vimeo videos that introduce this Godfather project for you. And I assume that some of you already watched these videos. In particular, the second one about feather creation, feather template creation with all the creation of the barbs and the final look of the groom is quite new. So there are no many new things under that aspect, but there are a lot of new things compared to the video presentation for the stuff regarding the guides, feather generation, feather geometries, and all that part, which is the first part of feather grooming for film. So, any other feedback from the chat? If everything is good, if the volume is okay, and also the video quality is okay? Well, I assume that everything is good because I already had one message telling me that the volume and the setup is working nice. So yeah, I would start with the first part of the presentation. So what I will do today is basically a real life scenario. I didn't prepare like a scene in advance, and I didn't have even like a precise schedule of what I want to show you. I just want to show you like my usual way of using the toolkit. So yeah, you will have an idea of what's the artist's take on the tools provided with this product. So let's start with preparing some geometry nodes on how Houdini is seen. Pretty much the same thing we would do if we had like a character. So I will simply create simple shapes for now, so we can become familiar with the tools. And yeah, let's create a sphere, and let's go really high with the subdivision, and just an output, and that's it. So this is our model. Typically, you will want to create all your feather grooms in a separate geometry node, which I usually call something like feather geos. And here we can import the skin coming from the model. And here, of course, we can paint attributes on the skin if we want. Of course, we are going to need them because this is grooming and we need maps on our model. But something that is really essential for the tool to work is to add a normal node and create normals on points. Why I left these to the user? Because it would have been easy to just include these in some of the nodes, but this is here because I really want the user to be aware of how the normal is affecting the work on the feather guides, because sometimes to have a different normal could be a huge time saver if you are working, for example, on wings. For now, we are creating the usual normal computed from the shape of the geometry itself, and we are adding the normal on points. And how do we start? So just to clarify, this will be a presentation, and this will work also a bit as a tutorial for the ones of you that in the following days or weeks will want to buy the product or try a demo, especially if you are working in a studio and you are interested in trying this in a studio environment. This will work also as a tutorial, and I will leave this the recording of the live stream on Twitch. Of course, later I will prepare better tutorials that will be like a primer for the main features of the tool. But yeah, for now we have this live demonstration. So let's go on. We can create our first node, which is a Godfather groom node, this one. The inputs and the outputs of these nodes are color-coded, and the red is for the guides, the green is for the skin, and the feather primitives are blue. And so we can connect the skin, and all the Godfather groom nodes will throw an error at the beginning because you have to go to the license tab and link the license manager. And this operation is authorizing all the nodes belonging to the toolkit. So now we have our Godfather groom ready. I will go through all this stuff in the parameter interface. For the ones of you who are already familiar with the groom guides node, this is really similar, of course, with like some extra stuff, but this is quite the same. But yeah, let's start with the creation of a feather guide, and let's go later to see everything in detail. To create a new feather guide, we select the Godfather groom, we activate the tool, and I did some effort in including here in this bar all the useful stuff. So here we can select the tools. The tools are the ones you are used to if you are working on grooms, on Houdini, but there is some extra stuff like the Godfather tool. For now, we select plant guides and we plant our first feather guide. It can be tiny, it can be large, depending on the scale of your scene. But anyway, it's there. If you don't see it, probably it's really tiny. And after planting our first guide, we can use this shortcut here to select all the guides or to clear the selection. We also have like a button for mirroring the selected guide. But for now, let's do this and switch to the screen brush tool. And the screen brush tool is something I used continuous switching on and off all the time, the sculpt point option and the constraint length option. This way I can quickly make this of the length I need, and then I activate again constraint length and I give this the shape I need. And this is the way you can start working with the screen brush. Other tools are working as well. They are basically the same tools of the standard Houdini guide room, the one you were used to when you were using Houdini 18 and 18.5. And most of the time I'm using the cut like this, just to change the length. The adjust length works as well, the clamp, but you are not going to use the clamp actually. So most of the time, the adjust length, the cut, and the screen brush. Now let's start looking at the extra attributes of the feather guides, because feather guides are something more than just curves. Let's start with the parameter interface. So we have global scale here, and this will be useful only in a really specific scenario. It's not really important. The behavior of this node is not depending on the scale of your scene. This is just to adjust some graphic elements, the scale of some graphic elements for the user. Connected feather generator. This connection is something we will see later, and is something that is giving you like some quality of life while grooming with feathers. This is the usual parameter for the selection. Then we have here a filter that will show only a specific kind of guide while working on the feather groom. This is something we will see later as well, but feather guides are not all the same, and this is something which is new compared to the video presentation I published some months ago. Then we can go to the second part of this user interface with the attribute stuff. Feather guides can have attributes. At the moment, they have two attributes that are like default attributes, the width and the curl. And these are special attributes that are used to compute the final shape of the feather guide. But we can add extra attributes. And to add an extra attribute, you can use this text field, and let's write custom attribute add. And now we have also custom attribute in this drop-down menu. What we can do with these menus. So this part of the interface doesn't work like the usual Houdini interface, and it works more like the Maya attribute editor. This means that what you do here is actually destructive. So there is a bit of destructive workflow in this node, which is kind of normal, because also the guide room node, the standard guide room node, is destructive, because every time you are doing like a stroke, you are performing a stroke, there is geometry that is being saved, destroyed. So what we can do here, we can change values for the attributes. And now I will create another guide next to this one, this. Now I will select the first one, and I will set a value for the custom attribute, let's do this value, 0.631. Then I switch to the other guide. The value is 0. I can set like 0.2. And as you can see, every time I switch my selection, the slider is refreshing. So it's working like an attribute editor. And if I select both of them, or maybe like this, if I select both of them, the moment I touch the slider, I will set the same value for both of them. And of course, this is also for multiple guides, also like for 3-4 guides, whatever. I also have a button to randomize the attributes, and these attributes will be used later when you will create your feathers with the quills, the barbs, and everything. The attributes can be part of the creation of the feather template. Then we can jump to the geometry properties. The geometry properties are the ones who are defining the shape of the profile, the rotation of the feather, and they are basically three: the sides, the curl, and the twist. Sides and curl are for the left and right side. The twist is just the twist of the feather around the spine, so it doesn't have a side. How we can we change these geometry properties? So I will show you selecting like one guide. Let's select this guide and select the geometry properties we want to affect, the sides of the profile on the left side, and we have a ramp here. So we simply have to change the shape of this ramp, and we are affecting the shape of this single guide. Let's say that we want to create a really asymmetric feather, like something similar to a primary feather. And here we have our custom shape on the feather guide. After editing the ramp, we just need to click apply. Ramp can be copied and pasted. You can work on both ramps, left and right side, at the same time. And also, what's important about ramps is that they have infinite precision. This means that the ramps will be used as like pure like string information until they will be used to create the final shape of the feather. In this case, I will show you what I mean by this. Let's select both sides and let's really change the shape here. Maybe for my feather groom, I need a feather with a really square tip, something like this. Really, really square. So maybe you could tell me, Fabio, okay, you create a really sharp shape on your ramp, but yeah, the feather doesn't look that sharp. For having like the final shape more faithful to the ramps, you just need to go to the output geometry options, and here you have internal resampling. This is something that is affecting the accuracy of the sampling of the ramp in order to get really sharp shapes. And you know that especially in like primaries, there are sometimes corners in your feathers, especially in that spots where feathers are interlocking. And this is used to get really sharp shapes if you need it. For the curl, this is quite similar. We can jump to the curl. And as you can see, I didn't click apply and I didn't save the new ramps. But yeah, let's go to the curl. For the curl, I can create something like this. This is the curl profile for both sides. Still, we don't see much because this is also affected by the curl attribute, which acts like a multiplier. So we select the curl attribute and here we have the curl. And of course, we can change also the subdivisions for the feathers, and we can switch to feather primitive and to add some cross subdivision, and we can have a really smooth shape. But it's not important right now because these are not the final feathers. These are just the guides, and in order to work with them quicker, we just leave them as preview geos. I think that we can already jump to some feather generation, and later I will show you like the rest of these. But yeah, before feather generation, something important as well is that the geometry properties can be edited also with an interactive tool that is working on the viewport. So if I select the Godfeather tool and I set sides and left side. Here I can change the shape of the feather interactively on the viewport. What's the meaning of this additional edit I'm doing? This additional edit is done on top of the ramp, so it's like an addition of the two. So there are informations regarding the profiles contained in the ramps and information contained on the points. The precision of these tweak that you can do manually on the viewport is related to the subdivision of the spine. And the subdivision of the spine is something you can find here. At the moment we have 6 segments. That means that when we are interacting with the brush on feathers, we are actually interacting with like 6 points. If I go higher, I go like 20 points, I can create really sharp shapes. If I go back to 6, I have this kind of resampling. So the good point here is that you can work with just a few segment counts because nobody wants to have so many segments while working with a brush, but at the same time, the resampling of the final shape of the feather when sampling the ramps is completely separated. You can go higher with this one, but still interacting with just 6 points when you are working with your brush. Now we can go to some feather generation. Let's create a feather generator here. We connect the input using the colors. We authorize the node linking the license checker, and we have our feather generation. We have to go really high with the density here. Let's go to 100. And this is quite similar to a hair generator. What we want to do here is to change the influence radius. Let's go smaller, and let's go a bit higher with the density. Yeah, 500. So these are the feathers generated by these 2 guides. As you can see, everything is interpolated, the shape, but also the profiles. You can see that we are going from really asymmetric feathers here to symmetric feathers here. And this is because of the shape we assign to the guides. We can also use the density attribute. So if we want to limit the scattering of feathers in a specific region, of course, we can use a density map, and we can use also other attributes. But what I really want to show you now is a feature I overlooked before because it wasn't the right moment to show you, and is the new behavior of guides depending on the type. So at the moment, we have 2 guides. Let's say that I have a really complicated shape on the body of my character, and I need a lot of guides to be accurate, to do a really good job with my guides. So probably I will start creating more and more. So another guide here, another guide here, 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 here. So the problem now is that if you want to change the profile shapes of all these feathers, you have to deal with way too many guides here. 7, 8 guides, 9 guides, they were useful for a purpose, but they are actually really annoying for the other purpose, because what I wanted was just to have a nice blending from left to right, from one shape to another shape. In order to do this, we can do something like this. So I will create 2 extra guides, and I will place one here at the very left, here at the very right. Then I select these 2 guides, 1 and 2, and I can use these tick boxes on the Godfather groom node to say that these guides have to affect the profile only. As you can see, instantly they became like pins, just to show that they don't matter for the shape of the spines. And this is actually the scenario I was talking about before. The only reason for you to change the global scale right now, if they are too tiny compared to your character, you can adjust this. So now we select all the other ones and we deactivate profile. Now we can select again these, and if we use the filter, the one we mentioned before, show only guides affecting the profile, we only see these ones. This way we can focus on a single aspect of our feather groom, not confusing everything, not mixing everything. So we can edit the ramps for this one. Oh, this is important. You can see that the ramps here have been resampled, and now they have like 50 points or something like that. This happens when you have interpolate ramps when planting new guides. This is something that has to work this way because, of course, one ramp can be a linear ramp, another ramp can be made of like 6 points, 10 points. So the only way of achieving a really good interpolation is to do a really high resampling. But you can deactivate these, and probably you will want to deactivate these. And in that case, when you plant a new guide, the shape of the ramps will be copied just from the closest guide. But for now, let's create this again really quickly. So select sides, both, and let's create just a new shape. And let's change the interpolation. I don't like this. And let's create something like this. Like this, 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 this. Okay, apply, copy ramp. Then we go to the other guide, this one. Paste ramp, apply. And let's create a really different shape. Let's create something really pointy, for example. Like this, for this one. And for the other one, let's create the opposite, like a teardrop shape, something like this. Apply. So now we have these really different shapes for the profile, and if we go to the feather generator, still nothing happened. Why? Because we have to activate the alternative mode, use composite guides, and now we have separate options for the interpolation of the other aspects of the feathers. So the profile interpolation is following these settings. And as you can see, we are going from the teardrop shape to the pointy shape. We can change the radius. We can make the transition sharper. I don't remember if, yeah, sharper is like this with high numbers. So super sharp transition or nicely blended from here to here. So this is something that I found myself really useful when working on a character, because again, you do want a lot of guides to be accurate when you have to follow the shape of the body, but you don't want to mess around with like 10 guides, 15 guides if you just want a really simple interpolation between two shapes. So now we have this, and I think that this is the moment to show you also something you are probably interested in, which is the tangling, feather solving. So let's create a feather random color attribute here, just to see better our feathers, and you can see that they are they are intersected. So we have a wide variety of approaches here to solve these problems. But let's go with the most brutal, because this stuff is really intersected and is really bad. And so the approach is to create a Godfather solver. I didn't test this before with this room, so let's hope that this will be decent. So the Godfather solver needs to be linked to the license manager as well. And first, let's just adjust these two parameters. I will tell you about the Godfather solver a bit later, but I don't want to make this live stream too long. Maybe we will do other ones. But yeah, let's try with almost with the default settings. And let's just see what happens. But before doing this, let's change the cross subdivisions. Yeah, let's do like this. And maybe like this. Yeah, let's go with the solving. So the solver produces some output here. You can also turn this off, and let's see. The result of this could be bad. No, it's not that bad. Of course, still this is not okay, and there is a lot of strange stuff here, but basically we solved these really bad intersections. And if you are a groom artist, you shouldn't start from this situation, but I really wanted to show you what we are getting just out of the box. We can do multiple solving. We can tweak the parameters. We can, for example, use the delta mesh here and try to increase this a lot. Maybe we can try to lift the feathers a bit less, something like this, and solve again. I hope that it doesn't look too slow to you, and we got something a bit better. And if we want, we can also create another one, like a cascade, a waterfall of feather solver, and with the same settings, but in this case with the rigid deform, which means that feathers are simply lifted, but without changing the shape much. And yeah, let's go with this second pass. Of course, you are able to solve your intersections also with Vellum. Yeah, we got something that is basically almost clean. You can solve intersections with Vellum. Another thing you can do here is that if you want to perform your own method for detangling, this feather solver is also giving you a primitive attribute and an integer that can be found here, solved number. So this attribute is giving you the sorting performed by this solver. So if your problem is just to sort your feathers and you want to use something else, you can steal the attribute from this process. You just copy back the attribute to the primitives before the solving. But this is not the best approach, actually. The best approach is to do something else. Let's get rid of this solver. When we have this, which is quite a mess, and you shouldn't start with this situation, if you want, you can wrap your primitives to the skin. Or better, to a different mesh you prepared with your modeler. So if we want, we can wrap the feathers. Of course, feathers that had a shape that was too different are not wrapped nicely. And you have a ramp here for the wrap. Let's go for a total wrap. So feathers are completely following the shape of the sphere. So you wrap your feathers, and then you simply use another node to lift a bit your feathers, maybe a bit more. Like this. Maybe let's go back to the ramp. And reduce just a bit this one. Okay. So this is way easier to start with. And if you provide these to your feather solver, it's going to be easier for the feather solver as well. Also, something you can do, you don't have to work with, I just have to turn off something here. I have a smooth that needs to be linked to some parameters at the in the interface of the node. So what I was saying is that you don't need to work with such high resolution feathers when performing this kind of operation, because you can work with proxies. If we select the feather generator again and we grab the fourth output, these are the proxies, and the options for the proxy geometries are here. Geometry properties, proxy geo properties, and you can create something way simpler for your vellum simulation, for your rigging, for your animation, and also to perform the algorithm of the feather solver. After you deform your proxies, let's try to do this now. Of course, the solver is way faster with the proxy. So this is what you did with the proxies. And then you can use a feather deform, and you grab the original primitives, the proxies, the solved proxies, and you have the deformation to the... I cannot see the deformation correctly, actually. Let me see if this is okay or not. I think it's the capture radius. I have to check. I changed this feather deform node today, so yeah, this wasn't successful, but as I told you, I didn't prepare stuff for today. But yes, you can deform your proxies, and then you can copy the deformation back to the original primitives. I will check later why this is not working at the moment. Anyway, yeah, let's go back to some other stuff related to guide work. Let's get rid of these for the moment. And let's arrange our Houdini interface the same way we would do when working on a character. So let's split left-right, like this. Okay. Then let's go here. Let's create another geometry node. And I'm adding color here. And then I will point to this node here. Now I will pin these part of the interface, And I will go back to the feather geometries, the guides. Let's get rid of this. And now I go back to the guides which are affecting the shape. I select all of them, and I can work with the screen brush, maybe using no sculpt and no constraint length. And I can work real time on the feathers, and maybe also clean up this a bit because I don't like all the intersections at the moment. So as you can see, if I go really high here with the density, and let's go higher with the density. Let's go to 2000. An insane amount of feathers. So at the moment, if I try to interact with these guides, of course, it's not that fast. The interaction with the viewport is not great. This is the moment when I can use the connection between the Godfather groom and the feather generator. So I go to the Godfather groom, this part of the interface, connected feather generator, this one. This means that now the Godfather groom will send a signal to the feather generator. I put the wrong node here. This. And now I go to the feather generator and I tick this update on demand and I click update once. It's really heavy at the moment. Let's stop this. We exaggerated a bit. So, like this. These. Let me test before. Okay. So what we have now is that when we are using the brush, we are updating. Oh, okay, I saw that the problem. I have to hide this. Okay. Now the update of the feather generation is delayed. Only when we end our stroke, this is updating. Let's go high again. 2000. Update. So despite this being insanely heavy, you can still work with your tablet pen or with your mouse because this is responsive. And when you release your mouse, you have the update. And this is something that, of course, is useful when you're working with the body or any area of the character with a lot of feathers. Let's go to another scene because I really want to show you something different. So here we have the model of a bird. And this is the model that my colleague Consiglio prepared for me. And here we can explore different ways of creating feathers specifically for the wings. So what we'll do here is we create a geometry node. Again, feathers, geos. We import the skin. We need the skin to be this. We imported the skin, and now instead of doing like we did before, creating the normal node, we will create the normal manually. So let's create a normal that is always pointing upward. On points. Now we can create a Godfeather groom. We connect, we authorize the Godfeather groom, we create a couple of guides, one here. Oh, I missed something here. Let's see if now it works. Otherwise, I will show you in the other one. Okay. So I create like a guide for this part, and then I will create another one. It's not really working, the plant guides on this model for some reason. Okay, I will show you on the other scene the feature. So the feature is basically this, that when you are working with the feather generator, you don't have only the option for the scatter, you can also place feathers at really specific location. So let's get rid of this pane, we don't need this anymore. And let's go back here. So what we can do is I typically do like this. I create a stroke node. I connect the skin geometry. I do a stroke like this. But before doing this, the stroke needs to be on the geometry. I create a stroke like this. Then I resample the stroke. Let's do something like this. Then I extract all the points. I connect the point to the third input of the feather generator, and I tell the feather generator that I want to use external points. This way, I'm creating feathers only at the locations that I provided for the roots, but still I'm using the guides. So this means that if you are creating a wing and you want a lot of artistic control on the shape of your feathers, you don't need to switch from doing something really procedural to do something really manual. No, you still have some help from this toolkit because you are using the guide. You can simply put, now we have a lot of guides here, but if we want to be a bit more rational with the guides, let's get rid of most of them. And let's see the generated one using the template. So I get rid of these, and these. And then I create new guides here. So as you can see, the locations are still the same, but I can affect. We can also go real time because it's not heavy. I can affect the shape of 12, 13 feathers real time using my guides. And of course, this is super useful when creating the wings, and the feather solver will prove really, really useful when creating the wings because you don't have to care about this, for example. Let's try to use the feather solver to get rid of that. Godfeather solver. Oh, and something important when it comes to using the solver with feathers generated like this, with like the set of points for the roots, is that you can grab the order of the feathers, so the feather solver won't have to guess the order of the feathers, because the order is coming with the index. So we did it, we do this, and then rigid the form, and let's try it like this. Should be super fast. Okay, still I don't like it. Oh, the pin ramp. I put the pin ramp, which was spinning everything. Let's solve again. The order is clearly the other one, so let's reverse the index. And here we had the detangling, which is too aggressive, so we can also just lower this. And even more. Of course, now we have this really unfortunate intersection. That's why this feather is lifting so much. But again, you can be a bit more careful with when creating your guides. Here we went completely random and quite wild. But yes, you can solve from this to this quite easily for all the feather groups of your wings. And also the feather solver here has an input for an external collider. So what you will end up doing is that you will create your primaries, and you will be careful about your primaries. Then you will create your coverts, and the coverts will be solved by the Godfather solver among themselves, and also with the external collider provided by the primaries. But again, the workflow I suggest with this tool is the wrapping to an external geometry and then lifting a bit, and then it will be almost done. Something else I have for creating coverts is a different way to scatter points. So if we want, we can, let's go back to the stroke. Oh, of course, more important, but if you are familiar with Houdini, you already know this. Everything is procedural here and non-destructive. So if I want to change the locations of these feathers, I just can create a guide groom node, a traditional guide groom node here. Let's pick the guide groom node from Houdini 18.5 because it was way better. And then also let's put array here to snap everything to the skin. Okay. And now these are our feathers. If we go to the guide groom and we turn off constraint length lock roots, we can move these around. And they are moving, they are sliding across the surface. Because after this, there is the resample, extract, ray, and everything. So everything is procedural. You can always go back here and tweak your stuff. But another way to create the roots, if you need to create a lot of coverts, is with this utility node I create for coverts. And yeah, let's get rid of these for the moment. And let's create, well, I will grab something from here. Yeah, let's go back to the scene with the bird. I hope that this scene is working. I saw that there were some problems before, but let's go back to this one. I created here an example of what you can do for scattering coverts in a good way, because scattering coverts randomly is not enough. So what you can do is you grab your model, you do some stroke that will be used to just create a surface, really subdivided surface, that then is being snapped to the model and converted to a NURBS. And if you need it, you can also reverse the U and the V. Why I create this NURBS patch? Because this way I can use the scatter by rows point. I hope that this is clear enough for the stream. So this node is arranging with ramps using the UVs, is arranging routes for the coverts the way you need it. You can be really accurate. You can also add some randomness. You can be accurate with the boundaries. They can follow a really specific boundary for the region, and this will help you in creating. Also, you can paint a map to prune some of these routes, and this will help you in creating your coverts. These points come with a p-scale attribute. This means that if I create a sphere here, copy 2 points, and let's make this smaller. So they are coming with a specific scale from this arrangement. And this scale can be used, but of course we have to change this a bit. And this scale can be used to, like this. You can see smaller spheres here and bigger spheres here. Is just a way to output the value of p-scale, and this scale will be used in feather generation if you want, and that will help you to achieve smaller feathers and bigger feathers without relying only on the guides, but you will have this kind of automatically. I will go back to here to the sphere because I completely skipped some interesting additional feature of the feather generator, which is, let's go higher with the density again. Feathers don't have to be so tidy if you don't want to. Inside this feather generator, we have an editable network where you can do normal groom processing. So for example, we can add a Fritz node. We can add a Fritz node here. And we are adding a noise this way. Let's go with something that makes sense. So this noise, I pin the interface, this noise is affecting the generation of the feathers. And you can also create other stuff like a random length. With the random length, you can multiply scaling up and down randomly your feathers, and you will get something like this. Big feathers, smaller feathers. This will help you to create a more organic look on your feather grooms. And I used to put this kind of modifiers even when I'm doing something really, really tidy like wings, because it looks just more natural. Also, when it comes to organic look, so let's get rid of this for now. When it comes to organic look, there is also another feature that can be useful for you. Let's do something like this. We have our feather guides here. Let's create other feather guides, like here, here, and here, and then here, here, and here. And let's change the sides. So shorter feathers in the middle and really short here. now if I go back to my feather generation, I have this. Of course, is following the new guides, but what I don't like is that the density is not okay, the coverage is not okay. But we have a Godfather node that is helping me in this. So we just need to create a density attribute for the skin, because we need a density attribute for this to work. So density 1.0. And then we can create a Godfather density node. We connect green, green, red, and red. And now we activate the license. So now we set up, we initialize the Godfather density node. What this node is doing, this node is checking the typical width and length of the guides and is going to perform a compensation on the density. The compensation is computed using these parameters: length factor, width factor. The width for our guides is all the same, so we simply increase this. And we have way more feathers where we need them. And of course now they are too lift, but we got our organic look really fast. We just have to tweak the multiplier. If there are too many, we can tweak the multiplier, and the length factor is gonna help us for achieving a realistic look. And of course, at some point, you will be happy with your density map computed through the Godfather density. So maybe you don't want any more the new addition on the guides to affect this. So maybe you can at some point simply put a stash here in a way that you are creating like a frozen copy. And I see Franchino, which is the only active user in the chat. Yeah, I put my shirt on to be more elegant. So I know that this now is a lot of stuff. It could be also a bit boring, and I know that some of you want to see actual feathers, and so let's create actual feathers now. And let's get rid of these. Let's create the output here like this. And now we can create a feather system. Feather system is going to create the real feathers with quills and barbs. And you just have to provide your feather geometries. And feather geometries are these. Of course, when working on an actual character, you will split your groom. You will create a feather groom for the body, or better, a feather groom for like the upper part of the body, the lower part, the head of the bird. And then you will have a lot of separation on the feather wings, the feather of the wings as well. That is a completely different approach, but this is just to show the all the operations, or all the features of the toolkit. So yeah, we link the license folder, and let's select the geos, feather geos, and here we have our feathers. Of course, the barb density isn't enough because we need to change something for the scale. So we dive inside, and here we have the stuff you already know if you watch the second video on Vimeo. But here we have another word of grooming that is the one regarding the feather templates. I will show you this better on like another live stream if you enjoyed this one, if you found this useful. And yes, we wanted to change the density here of the barbs, and we just need to change the base width even more. Let's do something like this. We can change the spine cut, and let's go back. At the moment, we are generating more than 800 feathers that are potentially completely different from the other one. And as you can see, it's quite fast. It generated feathers really, really fast. We can put the shade in the viewport. So we have 800 feathers really fast here. And well, you already know if you watch the other video. Here we can do any sort of stuff. I can add a noise, I can add a random cut. Yeah, let's do this a bit nicer. So this is to cut our barbs. And I create a random, I connect a random, I create a barb attribute to be connected to the seed. And probably if you watched my videos before, you noticed that it is a bit annoying here that you also have to create more space. I mean, it's Houdini, it's normal that you need space for your networks. But before, I was lacking the ability of creating a subnetwork. Why you couldn't create an ordinary subnetwork? Because these are not ordinary nodes. So now we have the Godfather subnetwork. If you want, you take this, copy, cut, paste, and you can work here. You can net this to the internal output. You go back here. You connect this. Maybe you pin your viewport so you can dive into the Godfather subnetwork. And now you can adjust your... But you have to go to 1 with the cut % because the input will be a multiplier of the amount in the node itself. So this is to the maximum 1, and here you can adjust your random amount. And we have random cut. It's the same for left side and right side. We don't like this, it's not random enough. Okay, so we pick the barb attribute that we connected to the seed. If we want to make left side and right side different, we simply need to add the barb attribute left or right, and now they are different. But still, they are all the same from feather to feather. All the feather are cut quite the same. So again, if we want to make this even more random, we create another add, and we add a feather attribute, feather ID, like this, and maybe we also multiply the feather ID to amplify the difference. You cannot see anything different now because the feather ID of the current feather is 0 because we are watching one feather, but these are basically prim bars. And if you want to... Hello to the new guys who joined the chat. If you want to test other values for your prim bars, you do a test override, and here you have a preview of what will happen when these values will come from the feathers. So, feather ID, let's turn off test override, and now if we go back to our viewport, we have some cut on all the feathers. Like this. Let's create also some noise. Let's create some noise, and I will show you other nice stuff about feather creation. But then after this, I really will jump to like the final part of the stream. I don't want to be boring with like an endless stream, but really there's much to say about the toolkit, about the best way to work with the toolkit. Yeah, let's create something else like a noise. So Bob noise. Bob's noise, as always, we can connect a lot of stuff here, but yeah, let's simply increase the spine frequency to have something really random like this. Bob frequency, maybe like this is okay. And yeah, let's do this. So this is the noise. Again, the noise can be really similar across feathers. If you want the noise to be completely different, there is a offset here, and you can connect something like we did before. You can connect. We can also do some copy and paste. Let's copy this. Let's connect this to the offset. Then let's go here inside and let's get rid of the stuff we don't need. So maybe we just want the left, and we add the left to the feather ID. We don't need this stuff, and we don't need this stuff. And maybe a final multiply. So we are basically now creating an offset for the noise, different from left side and right side of the feathers, and also different for all the feathers. And yeah, back here. And this is our noise, completely different that will be completely different for other feathers. Let's go to check our viewport. Quite fast. It is still quite fast with 800 feathers. Let's say that we want to have the noise different according to a map or according to attributes in general. We can do this. We can go to the feather geos, between these and these. Let's create a paint node, attribute paint. This is our skin. Just let me check where the feathers are. Okay, feathers are here. Okay. And we create an attribute noise magnitude. And let's do something like this. Okay, we created an attribute noise magnitude. Let's get rid of this dash. So now we go to the feather generator. The feather generator has a tab attributes and appearance, and we can inherit attributes from the skin. So point attributes, noise magnitude. So now feathers will have a noise magnitude attribute attached to them. We can quickly test this with a wrangle node. We connect. Should be here. Let me see if I forgot something. Noise magnitude. Let me see if the value is there. Yeah, the value is there. I just did something wrong with the output. Maybe there is like the shader or the material or something. Noise or point. No, primitives here. This is the attribute we put on our feathers. So now we can go back to our feather system where we created the feather template, and where we put the noise, we simply create feather attribute noise magnitude, and we connect the noise magnitude to the magnitude. As always, we can use the test override to see the values, which values are working with our template. But yeah, let's turn off test override. We go back to the viewport, and here we will see our feathers with the noise, a lot of noise on the left side and no noise on the right side. And you can do this with it's a primitive attribute, yes. You can do this with as many attributes as you want, and you can use these attributes everywhere here, really everywhere. You can do anything. Just to show you that you can do anything, I could show you. Here we have the cut. If I go again into the subnetwork, I can decide that here I put manually the maximum amount of cut. But if I want, I can put something different. Here I can create, for example, a ramp. I can create a ramp related to the spine, and I connect to the maximum. I invert these, and now I can decide that there is a lot of cut in the first part of the feather and just almost no cut in the second part of the feather. And if I want, I can keep multiplying or connecting these to other attributes, barbs attribute, feather attributes. But for all this stuff, I strongly suggest to look at this video. I will link to you now in the chat, because the video, unlike the one about the feather guides, is really new, is up to date, and is showing all the newer stuff. Yeah, what else? I can quickly set up karma renders if I want. This is the most convenient way for me now to have a look at characters, at grooming really fast on Houdini. So I will simply switch to the USD stage. I import my my geometry, SOP import, feather system. I switch to karma. I create a light. Let's create like a sphere. And here we have our karma render of our feathers. And I prepared, as the people who read my posts on LinkedIn already know, I prepared a demo scene with an archive where I'm building a USD stage and doing some really basic shader creation, because these feathers are coming with UVs and with parametric coordinates that allow you to do some really nice look. They have mixing UV texturing and procedural texturing. And yeah, actually what I can show you is how I create UVs. If I go back to the feather generation, these are the feathers, and this is a node I changed today. I hope that it does work. So now this node is doing the UV layout for the primitives. It takes a while because they are 800 feathers. Okay, it's done. And this node is outputting the feather primitives with the UVs for later the feather system to generate the barbs with the correct UVs, but is also giving a second output with the geometry, and this geometry has the UV. And if we jump to the UV, yeah, these are the UV layouts for all the feathers. If you don't like this and you want to create your own UV layout, you simply save this geometry and you change the UV layout the way you want, and you provide the new UV layout here for the second input. So you will be able to create any UV layout you need. And now that these feathers have UV, also the feathers with the barbs have UV. And this is something that I can show you quickly. I go to the other scene, and if I load the Godfather demo, this is the archive I prepared for you to grab. Just send me like a direct message on LinkedIn, and I will send to you this archive, which is a full demonstration of how you can mix UV texturing and procedural texturing. Here the white border is procedural texturing. A real look dev artist can achieve something nicer, of course. And yes, this is something you can inspect. You can play with this one, and you can try to build your own feather shader if you want. Just simply send me a message on LinkedIn, and I will send the archive to you. And something that I didn't create in this scene for feathers is, let's go fast. I don't want to wait. In the barbs generation, I think that you already know that it is possible to create fake barbels. So now we have a barb and two other curves on each side that we will shade in a way to mimic a bit the typical response to light of barbels. And this can really improve your look the moment you also you can change the way they are balanced if you want, with a really big core or with a really tiny core. And if you assign two different shaders here, you are going to achieve a really nice look, because even feathers that are really sleek, like flight feathers, will have that really nice look that is like revealing the structure, because otherwise without these, feathers can be really too sleek and really look like a surface. So now with the fake bubbles, it's going to create a bit more geometry, of course, and it will take more time, but not that much. Is already done. We are with 800 feathers here, and now we have the fake bubbles as well. And you can assign two different shaders in Karma, and this is going to improve the look dramatically. I will quickly show you here. I go back here to the SOP import, and I decide that I want to import only the barbs. Is this working? Yes. And here I want to import only the barbels. And here I want to import only the quills. So this is the way you really arrange your USD scene. When you're working nicely, you can create like a scene hierarchy and integrate with your USD pipeline if you are building a USD pipeline for your studio or for your personal personal projects at home. So yeah, let's create some material library, and yeah, let's go really basic. I'm not a look dev artist, so karma hair and hair. Let's create simply 2 different colors, something like this, and then assign material, all the primitives, all the primitives. I still have to become really familiar with this stuff. And then I'm going to do something similar with the bubbles. So these are the quills, these are the bubbles, and then the quills. And this is a nicer, well, nicer, not in this case. Let's move this light. Yes, you have every other barb with different materials. So if we wait a bit, I think that you can already see now that this is nicer. This is nicer because they are sleek, but in close-ups, they are showing like the typical structure of feather without the extra cost of generating bubbles that will be insane for all the feathers. But bubbles are coming. Bubbles are something I want to add because there are feathers that are looking good in a close-up, and even not a close-up. They need to be created with bubbles, so I will do that. And that will be an update in the future. I already have like an idea of how I want to do this, but yeah, I hope you like to have this possibility. I won't mention the project I was involved in because I don't want to disclose any stuff internal to studios. But I was in a project where we had this nice idea of creating a different shader every other barb to achieve a better look, but we couldn't do that at the end, and it wasn't like ready. It wasn't technically possible. So now it is possible in this with this tool. You can do this, and I can tell you that you can achieve a really cool look if you have a good look dev artist. So yeah, we saw a lot of things, and probably there will be other ones like the way the prim bars are handled, or maybe a complete scene with a bird, which is something that I will prepare for later. But yeah, this is the current state of the tool. Let me see if I overlooked anything. Random color, the form, the unwrap, density, solver, lift scale. Oh yeah, also if you want, you can, I already showed you that you could do the lift of your feathers, but if you want, you can also do some scale. You can do some scale and lift. For example, you could if you want, you can prepare like a growing animation for vellum. You can start with your feathers like this, and then slowly they are growing to the full size, and then they are lying down to the original position. And you can generate this animation with this node, and then you will run a vellum simulation if you want, and then you will use the feather deform to copy the deformation coming from vellum to the feather primitives, and this will be still asset creation. It won't be shot. For shots, it will be a similar workflow, like the one I show in the demo that you can download if you want. Again, send me a message if you want to have the archive I prepared for you. And yes, that's it. This is like an overview on the current state of the tool. I've been working with the tool. I did a lot of work on characters, and I tweaked the behavior of like the guides and also other new things. But what I can say is that with the current state of the tool, yeah, you can create a character. You can be really productive in creating a character. I think that, I mean, most of the people who are listening to me probably at the moment, you are colleagues, you know how to work in productions, and you already got that when working with this tool, you will quickly create a workflow and also a library of things that work for you. And for example, if you grab this feather system and literally you copy and paste this in another Houdini scene, and you just change the binding to different geometries, you are getting instantly your feathers on a different character, a different group. So this will be really productive when dealing with multiple characters, especially when dealing with multiple characters. But again, when working on a single character, definitely you can achieve a really high result, like film quality, if you have a lot of time to spend on your character. But if you are going really, really fast, you are doing advertising, and you have to create a bird in like a bunch of days, yeah, you can rely heavily on all the procedural stuff. You can use the solver, you can do the simulation, you can reuse templates you create in the past, and have your asset ready quite quick. And also everything is really manageable. Is non-destructive. If you have really broad changes to be done at a later stage, this is always going to be something you can do. Because you are not creating like a lot of duplicates. You are always dealing this with like the smallest set of information that is coming from the artist. The other stuff, the stuff that doesn't need to come from the artist, is procedural. And that's it. I think that now we are approaching like the end of the stream, because it is almost 2 hours. I want to leave this last section of the stream for questions. If anybody of the people who are still in the chat and are watching, they have questions about this, I will release this really soon. Actually, at the moment, I'm in touch with 3-4 studios that want to buy a version. Okay, feather density. Well, it depends. Too slow to work with, it can become slow, like you saw before. If you are generating like 2,000, 3,000 feathers with guides, you will need to do like the trick I showed you of connecting the guides to the feather generator to have like a delayed update on feathers, because otherwise you won't be able to interact with the guides. But in terms of rendering or generating feathers with the feather templates, I test full bird. So I test 10k feathers, 15k feathers with. Also, now you didn't see any optimization, because if we look at a single feather here, the points are way too many. If my supervisor, if my former HOD David Mayhew is watching me putting 16 CVs on these barbs, he will want to kill me. But anyway, yeah, you can go lower here. You can do this. You can subdivide later. Also, you can use Houdini resample to have a constant length resample on your feathers. So smaller feathers will have only like 3, 4, 5 CVs, and bigger feathers will have more CVs. So you can optimize a lot, but without optimizing on really good machines with 64 gigabytes, I rendered on Karma without going out of memory and without having problems during the process with like the full amount of feathers you need for a bird. And on a bird, you know that you can have 4, 5K, 6K feathers on the wings, and then a lot on the body, maybe other 15K. It depends really on how small you go with the feathers on the head, that they can become really a lot. But of course, you don't work on all the feathers at the same time. You have to split. You have to split not only for performance reasons. You have to split because of artistic reasons, because you don't want to have a single set of guides for everything. So I hope that these answer the question. Feel free to ask anything else about the tool. And as I was saying, I'm in touch with some studios that want to start using this now because they are in production now, and I'm selling cool. Thanks so much. And I'm selling a 90 days license for the toolkit. And at the moment, the technology behind the license is not really sophisticated, because you need internet access to activate your license, and the license will be node locked. After you activate the license, the license manager will read the license from the disk, and you will be able to be offline. This is not a limitation usually for individuals, for indies, and for smaller studios, but I know that bigger studios, they want more options for licensing, like floating licensing, or like a license server that they can install in their own network. But yes, at the moment, I have this. So node locked license for Houdini Linux, for Windows Linux, and you will need access to the public internet to activate your license only once at the beginning, because the product will be sold on Gumroad, and the license manager is simply connecting to the Gumroad server to verify the license key. That's it. And I want to create a really small group of early adopters, because of course I'm doing this on my free time. Now it's 8:30 in London, and I know that I want to be regularly in touch with people who are adopting my tool. So probably I will be able to speak to, I don't know, 4 people, 5 people, 5 people or studios. Because otherwise I won't be able to do this in my spare time. But yeah, that's it. The demonstration went almost 100% smooth. I had actually some problem on the other scene with the bird. Actually, I don't know why. It's an old scene. Probably some nodes are quite outdated, and they are not working with the updates I did recently. But yeah, that's it. You can also ask me something else. Otherwise, we will close the stream for now. And I think that either I will do other presentations like these ones, like this one on Twitch, or better, I will prepare a series of tutorials, video tutorials that are explaining step by step all the features of the toolkit. And later I want to create another series of tutorial where we are creating together a full character. So I don't see other questions on the chat. Oh, thanks so much to all of you. I know that probably I know you, but I don't know the nicknames. But yeah, I hope you did enjoy the presentation. Let's be in touch on LinkedIn. You find me easily on LinkedIn. My Vimeo channel is this one. I will paste this on the chat. This is the Vimeo channel where I publish my videos about like my projects, including the Godfathers, and there are two presentations that are a bit less articulated than this stream, and they are shorter. So if you want again an overview about the whole toolkit, you can watch the presentations. But this live stream will be available for being watched again on Twitch. I know that this is really long. My original idea is that this live stream could work also as a tutorial, but I don't really see people watching again these 2 hours of stream just to learn the tool. So yeah, I know that I will need to create other tutorials. Oh, okay, there is David. I hope that he just joined the stream like last 10 minutes after I revealed that I was using 16 CVs for the Babs. And yeah, I think that we saw most of the stuff. Maybe I overlooked a bit other features of the Godfather room. Yeah, you can. I told you that you can mirror guides, and you can mirror guides like this. The guide has been mirrored to this way. This is a mirror similar to the XGen mirror, so is like a destructive mirror. If you are going to do some change to the original guide, if you want a copy again, you have to destroy the copy and to mirror the guide again. Looks like the one on XGen. And then yeah, the Godfather guides with the type of the guide. I hope that this is something that you liked, because I think it is a lifesaver when working on big characters. And then yeah, the randomize and yeah, the ramps, and yeah, not much stuff left from this presentation. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of content, and Oh, okay. So David is telling me that I was lucky enough to just say that when he wasn't watching. But yeah, Thomas reported me. Yeah, that's not nice, Thomas. And yeah, so I would say that let's end the stream for tonight so we can have dinner. I can have dinner finally. And let me know. I thank all of you, because the other times that I rarely decided to go live on streaming on Twitch something, I remember that nobody was watching, but it was enough to announce to some friends that I was going to do this live stream, and there are a lot of people watching for like the whole duration of this. So I'm really happy, and thank you for joining this stream. Thank you for the appreciation shown on my projects. I'm always really glad with the feedback I get on LinkedIn, and I spent a lot of time in preparing these tools and the workflow, and even before I started developing these, I had ideas about an ideal workflow coming from like the previous experiences in production. And so I hope that it shows that I prepared this with a lot of care for the user experience of the artist, because at the end I really wanted to make this quite easy, or at least as easy as a regular groom. And yeah, we are done. I think that I will schedule maybe some other live streams. I will announce them again on LinkedIn, on Facebook. Thanks so much for joining. And yes, see you soon. And I hope to be in touch with all of you. Bye.